Hi. In this video, we will introduce you to dynamic array functions in Excel.
In 2018, Microsoft introduced a new calculation engine for Excel and 6 dynamic array functions. Now, these dynamic array features are only available in Microsoft 365 and Excel 2021. The new calculation engine and the formulas allow you to write one formula and get multiple results. This eliminates the need for legacy CSV functions and formulas. Here CSV stands for Control Shift and Enter. We'll first look at the legacy array functions and formulas, or what we call CSV functions and formulas. So here we got some names of workers, the hours they worked, and the rate per hour. And if we were to calculate their total wages, the normal way we will do is we will calculate by using this kind of a formula, hours into rate. And then, of course, we can copy it down. And then to get the total here, we will add a sum function equals sum, and we will take this range and press enter. Now here we have calculated the total wages for each of these workers and then the total wages. So here we have used normal formulas. So let's look at how we can do this using the CSV formulas. So first of all, if we want to calculate the wages of each of this person without writing a formula like this and copying it down, we can do like this. We can calculate all of these wages using an array formula. To do that, what we need to do is first select the whole range like this, where we need the total wages to be located. So here there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cells where the total wages are, because we got 5 employees. So we need to select, first of all, the same number of cells. Then we can write a formula like this, equals, and then we can select the range where we got the hours. So that is array 1, and then multiply that by array 2, which is the rate per hour. So all we need to do is write like this, and instead of pressing enter key, we use the CSV. So we press Control Shift button and then enter key. And see, at once all of these calculations have been done and they are okay. But if you check inside the formula bar, you see there's a curly bracket which has been automatically entered around the formula. So that is because this is a CSV formula that we have entered. So the curly brackets indicate that. And we have anyway calculated all of these wages at once instead of calculating separately like in the earlier formulas and then copying it down. We can also calculate the total wages at once using an array function. So to do that, what we need to do is, let's select this cell over here, and I will write the formula equals, and I use the regular sum function. And here I will select first the hours array, and then I will put a asterisk to multiply, and I will select the rate per hour array. So these are 2 arrays I have selected. So the sum function will multiply these inside the function and add them together. So it will calculate the total ages for Oliver and so on, and sum all of them together to arrive at the total wages here. So here I can close the bracket and I have to press Control Shift and enter. And I get the same answer. But here also you see I have curly brackets around the formula. When you calculate multiple values like this for total wages, we call it a multi-cell array. because it returns multiple results across a range of cells. And in this example, we have what is called a single cell array. So these formulas return a single result inside one cell. These are some of the legacy CSV functions. So we got transpose, which converts rows to columns and vice versa. mmult, frequency, minverse, MDE term, linst, trend, frequency, and growth. So we'll look at one of these functions, transpose. So basically, transpose function can convert from vertical to horizontal and horizontal to vertical, vice versa. So it's similar to the phase special transpose, but it's dynamic. So what happens is if you use the transpose function, unlike space special, if you change the original data values, your transposed values will also update. So let's look at how we can use the function. First, we need to count how many cells are here. So there are 5 cells. If I want to transpose to horizontal like this, I need to select 5 cells, first of all, like this. So I have selected 5 cells. Then I can start writing the function equals transpose. And I select this cell range, close the bracket. I need to now press Ctrl Shift Enter instead of Enter key. And I got the transpose values here. Again, curly brackets have come because it's a CSV function. So I have basically transposed the values. And if I now change this value, for example, to 35, this value also updates. So it's dynamic, not like the phase special transpose. Now, if you have Excel 365 or 2021, you don't actually need to use the Ctrl Shift Enter method. You can just press Enter key and you don't need to pre-select the number of cells as well. So let me show you how you can do that in the new version of Excel 365, which I'm using. So you can just type equals transpose and just select the cells and press Enter. So it will automatically do the transpose. So I have written the function only in this cell, but the other values are in the other cells. So this is a CSV function. Here I have used the dynamic array function. So it's the same function, but the way I entered is different. So basically, if you have Excel 365 or Excel 2021, you can completely forget about this CSV functions and formulas and go with the normal dynamic array functions or the formulas. Now, the legacy array functions are less flexible compared to modern dynamic arrays, and they require manual resizing and editing. They are still supported for compatibility reasons, but gradually they are being replaced by dynamic array functions in newer versions of Excel. Now we'll get into dynamic array functions and formulas, and we'll look at a behavior called a spilled array, which happens when you write functions or formulas in dynamic array form. So here we have the same data. So let's say I want to calculate total wages. I can do a formula like this, equals, I select the hours, then multiply by rate power. So I don't have to pre-select the range like this, where I have the total wages, like when I did for the CSV version. And I can just press Enter key. And see, the formula has now spilled into these other cells. So what we call spilling is where the results are being spilled into the adjacent cells. So my function, if you come to the formula bar, it's there only in cell E62, or my formula is only in cell E62. But the answers or the results have spilled into these other cells. And if you see the formula bar, they're kind of grayed out. That's because the formula doesn't reside in these other cells. It only resides in the first cell where I wrote the function. And I can also do the same total wages calculation in one shot by using this function equals sum, and I can select the hours like this multiplied by the rate. And again, I don't need to use Control Shift Enter. I can just press the Enter key. And I got the answer in this cell. So it's a one cell array. In my previous transpose function also, you can see the transpose results have spilled into these other cells. And when you have a spill range, if you have a spilled array like this, you can see there's a blue line going across the border. So that indicates there's a spilled array. And here as well. Now, when we have the spilled arrays like this, we also have a new error type called hash spilled error. So let me demonstrate how that happens. So let me say I do the same total wages formula over here. So I will write equals hours into rate. And I got it spilled here. And if I write the same formula here, equals this into this array and press enter. See, now I get a hash spill error. We get a hash spill error because, as you can see, so there's some type of data in this cell which blocks the spill from going through. So here it needed up to this cell to spill, but in the middle of that I got some data and it can't spill. So that's why it's getting a hash spill error. So whenever you get a hash spill error, what you need to do is remove whatever the data that is blocking your spilled area. So here I can just remove this to the side and it spills. So it can be anything basically. It can be any type of data that can block, like it can be text, numbers, dates, whatever. So if it's blocking, you will get the hash spill error. With these new dynamic array functions and formulas, we also have what is called a hash operator or a spill range operator. So let me demonstrate that with example. So I will again write the same formula here, hours into rate power, press enter, and I got the answer spilled here. And here in another cell, let's say I want to write a sum function. And I start the sum function and I select this range where the spilled data is there, and see it has changed. The cell reference has changed to B83 hash. And if I close the bracket and press enter, I of course get the total. But the cell reference here, it has a, instead of saying B83 to B87, it says B83 hash. So the hash operator in this situation, it denotes it's a spill range. So what it's saying is there's a spill range from B83 onwards, and that's what I'm taking into the function. So if this spill range updates and I wrote the formula like this, it will again update automatically and it will be dynamic. So I don't need to adjust the function references. I can even type the formula using the hash operator like this. I can write equals sum And I know the range, I know the cell is B83. So I can type B83 and put a hash. And it goes and selects the spill range. And I can close the bracket. So the syntax is the starting cell, B83, and then the hash. If I want to refer to this transpose spill area, the cell is E54. So I can write equals sum, open bracket, E54 and hash. And that will refer to that spill area. So basically the hash operator makes it easy for you to refer to spill ranges, and your formulas or functions that you use the hash operator automatically becomes dynamic.
Thanks for watching.